The Duchess of Cambridge has been admitted to King Edward VII Hospital tonight with severe morning sickness, officially known as hyperemesis gravidarum.
Royal fans around the world are buzzing with excitement.
Out of Buckingham Palace, the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate Middleton, is pregnant.
After Princess Kate Middleton just shared a major update about baby number 4.
It is difficult. It's hard to explain.
After months of speculation, whispers, and endless media guesses, the Princess of Wales has finally spoken. And what she revealed has everyone talking.
Princess of Wales.
Princess of Wales. Princess of Wales.
Princess of Wales.
Princess of Wales.
Princess of Wales.
The news has sent shockwaves through the royal family and filled supporters with joy and curiosity. Could another royal baby truly be on the way? Today, we break down Kate's stunning announcement and what it means for the future of the monarchy. The night before the world knew. When the palace released its brief and cryptic statement, "The Princess of Wales will address the nation tomorrow," the world spiraled into chaos. News outlets lit up with speculation, social media exploded with theories, and even palace insiders whispered in confusion. Was it a scandal? A secret resignation from royal duties? Or perhaps a shocking confession that would change everything? No one could predict the truth, not because it was hidden, but because it was too deeply human for the world to imagine. That night, while London slept under a blanket of stillness, a quiet battle unfolded behind the guarded gates of Adelaide Cottage. The lights in one upstairs room burned softly, the only sign of wakefulness in a house filled with sorrow. Kate sat before her dressing table, the soft golden glow of the lamp reflecting off the tear-streaked glass. Her hands trembled as she reached for a letter she'd written and rewritten countless times, each word carrying the weight of a mother's heartache. The reflection staring back at her was not the polished duchess the world adored, but a woman breaking under the burden of silence. Her longtime maid, Anita, stood nearby, silent, steady, and heartbreakingly aware of what tomorrow would bring. She had seen Kate's sleepless nights, her trembling prayers, and her desperate attempts to stay composed for her children. When Kate's hand began to shake, Anita stepped forward, resting a gentle palm on her shoulder. "Let them see it," she whispered. "Let them see you." Her voice was soft, but filled with quiet strength. A reminder that vulnerability wasn't weakness, but truth in its purest form. Down the hall, the nursery glowed faintly in the moonlight. Grace, the smallest and most fragile of the royal children, slept soundly beneath a mobile of tiny white doves. Each turn of the mobile cast shadows that danced across the crib, fragile as the life that lay within it. Beside her, Prince William knelt, his head bowed, his lips moving in prayer. There were no cameras, no titles, no royal decorum here. Only a father pleading for one more sunrise with his child. As the night deepened, Kate walked quietly into the nursery. The sight before her froze time. The stillness, the warmth, the unbearable beauty of a fleeting moment. She leaned over the crib, her fingers brushing against Grace's soft cheek. A single tear slipped down her face as she bent closer and whispered, her voice trembling, "Tomorrow, the world will finally know you." Outside, dawn began to rise, slow and golden, as if even the sun knew what was coming. The palace remained silent, unaware that within its walls, a mother's heart had already decided. Tomorrow the crown would not speak. A mother would. Kate was preparing for an announcement unlike anything the world had ever heard from her before. But what truth kept the Princess of Wales awake through the night? And what could she reveal that would leave the world speechless? Now, let's explore. The broadcast that broke the world. Kate's tearful confession and the secret princess revealed. At exactly 6 o'clock, the world seemed to stop. News stations across continents interrupted their broadcasts. Social media froze mid-scroll, and millions of hearts beat in perfect unison, waiting. Then, the screen flickered to life. Kate appeared, not as the radiant royal the world had come to know, but as something far more real: a mother. There were no glittering crowns, no lavish jewels, no royal backdrop, only soft light, trembling hands, and eyes glistening with tears she could no longer hide. Her voice was steady, but each word carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken nights. "In February," she began, pausing as if the sentence itself demanded courage, "I gave birth to a daughter. We named her Grace Elizabeth." The silence that followed was unlike anything the world had ever heard. A silence that listened. Behind those few words lay months of secrecy, fear, and the quiet ache of a mother who had carried both life and heartbreak in her arms. This was not a royal statement polished by advisors. It was not a carefully scripted speech written for the cameras. What came next was a confession, raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. Kate spoke of the moment she first held her daughter, of the joy that turned to terror when the doctors whispered words no parent ever wants to hear. She spoke of long hospital nights hidden from the public eye, of the impossible decision to keep Grace's condition private, to shield her from the relentless gaze of the world. "We wanted her to know love," Kate said, her voice trembling. "Not pressure, not pity, just love." Her tone softened even further, her eyes glancing down as though she could still feel Grace's tiny fingers curling around hers. "Grace is still with us," she whispered, almost afraid the words might break apart if spoken too loudly. "She's still fighting." In that single sentence, hope and heartbreak intertwined, the kind of emotion that doesn't belong to royalty, but to every mother who has ever prayed for one more day. For a long moment after she stopped speaking, no one moved. Then, the world responded, not with gossip or judgment, but with something rare: empathy. Within hours, the palace gates overflowed with flowers, letters, and toys left by strangers who now felt they knew the baby they had never met. Prayers from every corner of the globe flooded social media, each message carrying a piece of shared sorrow and strength. That day, the name Grace Elizabeth became more than just a royal secret. It became a symbol of love that defied silence, of a family's quiet battle behind palace walls, and of a mother's heart strong enough to break in front of the entire world. Kate revealed to the world that she once had a little princess named Grace, but tragically lost her. But why does this loss feel so deep? Was it just a princess the world lost, or a future queen? If Grace had lived, what destiny awaited her? Now let's dive into how a silent revolution redefined royal destiny, the law that changed the future of the crown. In 2015, something extraordinary happened, not with fanfare or celebration, but with quiet determination. No royal trumpets sounded, no balcony waves marked the occasion. Yet, within the halls of Parliament, history was being rewritten. The Succession to the Crown Act, 2013, finally came into force, bringing with it one of the most important changes in modern royal history: the end of male preference succession. For the first time in 1,000 years, a royal daughter would no longer be pushed behind her younger brothers simply because she was born a girl. It was a change long overdue, a correction to centuries of tradition that had favored sons over daughters, duty over fairness. The monarchy, often seen as a symbol of ancient customs and unshakable hierarchy, had taken a bold step toward equality. There were no fireworks, no royal proclamations, but the weight of what had changed could be felt across the kingdom. It wasn't just a new law, it was a statement that even the crown, one of the oldest symbols of power in the world, could adapt to the times. Britain, a nation that had witnessed queens who changed the course of history, from Elizabeth I to Victoria and Elizabeth II, had finally acknowledged what the people had long known: that strength, leadership, and grace were never defined by gender. Yet the act went beyond the line of succession. It quietly removed another shadow from the monarchy's long history, the rule that forbade heirs from marrying Roman Catholics. For centuries, this old law had been a reminder of religious division and outdated control. Now, it was gone. The crown had taken another step toward inclusion, unity, and understanding, values that reflected the world it ruled over. Another quiet reform followed, the replacement of the Royal Marriages Act of 1772. No longer would every royal union require the monarch's blessing. Instead, only the first 6 people in line to the throne needed the sovereign's permission to marry. What seemed like a small adjustment in legal terms carried deep emotional meaning. It was a gesture that allowed love and choice to coexist with duty and destiny. Each clause of the new act might have been written in formal language, but behind the words was something deeply human: progress. For an institution built on lineage and ceremony, this was a rare moment of evolution. The British monarchy, often seen as frozen in tradition, had chosen to move forward without losing its essence. And so, without the echo of drums or the roar of crowds, a quiet revolution unfolded, one that didn't just alter the order of succession, but redefined what it meant to wear the crown. It was proof that even the oldest monarchy on earth could change. Not through rebellion or force, but through courage, fairness, and time itself. A quiet revolution transformed royal destiny, ending centuries of inequality and rewriting history. But what happens when that new hope slips away, when someone's child loses the chance to be part of it? How does a mother hide such heartbreak from the world? Let's uncover the truth behind it all. Shadows beneath the royal lights. Beneath the golden chandeliers of a royal gala, the air shimmered with elegance and expectation. Cameras flashed, crystal glasses clinked, and the orchestra's soft melody floated through the grand hall like a dream. Yet, amid the glitter and glamour, Kate Middleton stood as a woman quietly torn between 2 worlds, the one she had sworn to serve, and the one her heart longed to protect. Every step she took, every practiced smile she gave, was part of a carefully choreographed performance. To the world, she was flawless, the picture of grace, poise, and royal perfection. But behind her composed eyes, a storm brewed. As she glided across the polished marble floor, diamonds shimmering around her neck, her smile never faltered, but her heart did. Each polite conversation, each whispered compliment only deepened the ache she carried inside. She laughed at the right moments, nodded at the right words, but her mind was elsewhere. Far from the champagne toasts and endless pleasantries, it was with her daughter, Grace Elizabeth, the child whose existence was still wrapped in secrecy. Across the room, Prince William watched her carefully. He knew that look, the faint tremble in her hands, the hollow stillness in her eyes. It was the same look she had when the doctors first delivered the news, when she sat in silence for hours, clutching the tiny blanket embroidered with Grace's initials. William's expression softened, but he could do nothing except hold her gaze. In that brief exchange, 1,000 unspoken truths passed between them: love, fear, and the unbearable weight of what they were hiding from the world. The gala continued as if nothing had changed. Laughter echoed off marble walls, champagne sparkled in crystal flutes, and dignitaries made small talk under the glow of chandeliers. But within that glittering illusion of royal perfection, something was shifting. Beneath the gowns, jewels, and formal smiles, a secret had begun to grow. Fragile, but powerful. Kate felt it with every heartbeat. The truth she could no longer contain. The story that would soon shatter the palace's carefully polished facade. She knew that the moment of silence between her and William had already set something in motion. That night, as the orchestra reached its final note and applause filled the hall, Kate took a deep breath. The mask slipped for just a second, enough for anyone watching closely to see the pain behind her eyes. In that fleeting moment, the perfect image of royalty cracked, and the secret that would soon shake the monarchy's illusion began to take form in the quietest corners of her heart. At a dazzling royal gala, Kate's hidden pain was observed, even when she tried to conceal it. But how long will she continue appearing in public with this pain? Now let's unravel the silence that shook the palace. The vanishing of the princess. It began quietly, not with an announcement nor a statement, but with absence. One morning, the Princess of Wales was simply gone. No royal appearances, no photographs, no carefully curated updates, just silence, thick, strange, and impossible to ignore. Only days earlier, she had stood beneath the glittering chandeliers of a royal gala, smiling gracefully, the perfect image of composure. But now, her name vanished from every schedule, and her image disappeared from every headline. The world noticed instantly. News outlets scrambled to explain the mystery. Was the princess ill? Had there been a family crisis? Or was something far more delicate being hidden behind those guarded palace walls? Social media erupted with theories, some sympathetic, others sensational. The royal household remained unshaken, issuing its predictable calm. Private time, personal reasons, a period of rest. Words chosen to sound soothing, but they only deepened the unease. Beneath the calm, polished words of the palace's official statements, an uneasy truth lingered. Something the world couldn't yet see but could sense. Reporters outside Windsor noticed it immediately. Curtains that once welcomed morning light now stayed stubbornly closed. The usually lively gates were eerily still, and even the stoic palace guards carried a weight in their eyes, as if the walls themselves held a secret too heavy, too fragile to speak aloud. Inside Adelaide Cottage, where laughter and light once spilled from every window, an unfamiliar stillness took hold. The children's voices had grown faint, their toys untouched in the corners of rooms that suddenly felt too large, too quiet. The faint aroma of tea and roses lingered where fresh bouquets had begun to wilt. Staff moved softly, their conversations reduced to whispers. Some avoided certain rooms entirely, as if the walls themselves carried memories too fragile to disturb. Rumors began to spread, carried on the breath of curiosity and fear. Some said the princess had retreated to a remote countryside estate, a secret haven beyond the reach of cameras. Others whispered that she was unwell, cared for in complete secrecy to protect her from public scrutiny. But among those who served the family closest, another whisper began to surface, one far more mysterious. It was a name, just one word: Grace. At first, the name slipped out by accident, a nurse's murmur, echoed by a passing driver, quickly hushed by a maid's wary glance. Curiosity hung heavy, yet no one dared ask its meaning. Still, the word Grace refused to fade. It lingered in the air like a haunting melody, weaving itself into every whispered conversation, impossible to forget and impossible to ignore. And so, as the nation waited for answers that never came, the story of the missing princess began to transform into something deeper. A tale of heartbreak, hope, and a secret that would soon challenge everything the crown had ever hidden. After the gala, Kate vanished without warning, leaving behind silence, fear, and whispered secrets. But where exactly did she go? And what makes her seek refuge in seclusion? Now let's dive into the hidden sanctuary, where Grace lived and Kate disappeared. Far from the glitter of royal banquets and the constant hum of flashing cameras, there existed a place that seemed untouched by time. a secluded estate nestled deep within the English countryside. The road to it was narrow and winding, guarded by towering trees that kept even the wind's whispers secret. Few knew of its existence, and fewer still had reason to visit. The locals called it a place of recovery, a retreat for those seeking to heal, body, mind, or soul. But behind its ivy-covered walls, something far more delicate was unfolding. Inside the estate, life moved at a pace the outside world had long forgotten. Mornings began with soft bird song, followed by the quiet ritual of tea and sunlight streaming through lace curtains. Among the few residents was a woman known only as Grace. She was gentle in speech, calm in movement, and carried an air of quiet mystery that seemed to silence every room she entered. Her days were simple, reading by the window, walking barefoot through the gardens, watching the world breathe around her. To the staff, she was a woman in recovery, one who preferred solitude to company and peace to conversation. Yet for those who truly looked, who dared to meet her eyes, there was something almost otherworldly in her presence. Her deep, restless blue gaze carried a silent weight. Grief so profound, it didn't just ache, but reshape the soul itself. Occasionally, she seemed to slip into memory, her fingers brushing a small pendant with quiet reverence, pausing as a child's laughter drifted past, or staring toward the horizon as if hoping for someone lost to return. Every subtle movement spoke of longing, of invisible wounds, and of a heart that had endured more than words could ever capture. Whispers began to form among the few who tended the grounds. "She reminds me of her," one maid whispered to another, "the Duchess." They laughed nervously, brushing it off as imagination. After all, how could the future Queen of England be hiding in a forgotten corner of the countryside, living under another name? And yet, the resemblance was haunting. The grace in her gestures, the quiet strength in her smile. It was as if Kate Middleton herself had stepped out of the royal spotlight and into a world where titles no longer mattered. Perhaps Grace was not simply a patient, but the quiet reflection of a woman remade, a spirit who had endured heartbreak, survived its weight, and chosen inner peace over royal expectation. In that secret, secluded sanctuary, far from prying eyes and the crown's relentless demands, the Duchess may have discovered something no palace could ever provide, a rare, unshakable gift, true freedom, lived on her own terms. Kate has found peace in seclusion, far from the relentless royal spotlight. But how long will she remain hidden? And in what way will she re-emerge? Now, let's uncover Kate's whisper from the shadows. The letter that shook the palace. Months slipped by like fading pages of an unwritten story. The world kept asking questions, but no answers came. The palace maintained its silence, the kind that felt too careful, too rehearsed. Then, one misty morning, something unexpected arrived. It wasn't an official announcement, nor a statement stamped with the royal crest. It was a letter, small, unmarked, and written in the delicate, graceful handwriting that only one woman possessed. It was unmistakably Kate's. The envelope carried no titles, no emblems of power, just words that seemed to breathe with life, pain, and quiet release. When the letter was first opened, those who read it felt the weight of her heart in every line. The first sentence alone sent chills through the room. "The world believes I've vanished. In some ways, they're right, but here I've found peace. Not as a royal, not as a symbol, but as me." Her message was not one of disappearance, but of rediscovery. It was as though the princess had shed the invisible armor she had worn for years, the one polished by expectation, duty, and constant scrutiny. In her words, there was no trace of grandeur or royal phrasing. Instead, there was vulnerability, the raw honesty of a woman who had finally stopped performing. Those closest to her, aides, friends, and family, wept quietly as they read. They understood what the world could not. This was not a goodbye, but a transformation. The name that had once haunted whispered conversations, Grace, now took on an entirely different meaning. Grace wasn't a person hidden away. Grace was her rebirth. A second life carved out of silence and serenity. In that instant, the truth unfolded. The secretive countryside estate, Kate's sudden absence, the hushed stillness at Windsor, every shadow, every silence had been guiding the way. She hadn't fled in fear or despair. Instead, she had chosen courage, stepping away not to escape, but to reclaim her power, her peace, and her voice beyond the world's gaze. For years she had carried the heavy weight of the crown, every smile scrutinized, every word analyzed. Now, at last, she found freedom, not in public appearances, speeches, or royal ceremonies, but in the quiet, intimate power of writing her own truth. Through ink and paper, her heart finally spoke, raw, honest, and unguarded. Her letter was a confession, a liberation, and a quiet declaration that royalty did not define her. Humanity did. When the last line was read, the room fell silent again. Not the cold, uneasy silence of secrecy, but the soft, sacred kind that follows understanding. The princess the world had lost had, in truth, found herself. And though the letter bore no royal seal, its message would echo louder than any proclamation ever could. The sound of a woman reclaiming her soul. The letter exposed Kate's hidden sorrow, her courage, and her private rebirth. But what truth is she still keeping? Could it be a daring decision or a battle waged in silence? Now unravel the secret within Adelaide Cottage. The battle. No one saw. Behind the gentle glow of Adelaide Cottage's lanterns, an invisible storm raged, one no crown, no ceremony could protect from the human heart. From the outside, the home seemed perfect. Gardens shrouded in morning mist, windows spilling warm light, and the faint echoes of laughter drifting on the breeze. Yet inside, a different world quietly unfolded, a world fragile and trembling, held together by love, hope, and the unspoken weight of fear. Kate and William were living every parent's darkest nightmare. Their youngest daughter, Grace Elizabeth, lay small and vulnerable, caught in a battle far too great for her tiny frame. Every breath she drew felt like a victory. Each gentle flutter of her heartbeat was a fleeting, miraculous triumph. The nursery, once filled with the soothing rhythm of lullabies and the cheerful chaos of toys, now hummed with the steady, urgent whir of medical monitors. Each beep a reminder of life's fragility and the preciousness of each passing moment. Doctors moved with quiet urgency, slipping silently through side doors to avoid the press. Their voices were calm, professional, but their eyes betrayed the tension that pressed against the walls. Treatments were tried and retried, remedies tested, yet shadows in the room lingered, stretching longer with every passing hour. Beyond the estate, the palace offered only carefully crafted reassurances. Private time, family matters, statements polished and polite yet hollow, concealing a truth the public could scarcely imagine. Headlines speculated endlessly, suggesting scandal or royal drama, but nothing in the world could match the silent storm raging behind Adelaide Cottage's walls. Kate remained unwavering, tending to her daughter with hands both gentle and strong. She whispered prayers into the stillness, read stories aloud with a trembling voice, brushed tiny fingers with soft kisses, and summoned a strength only a mother can possess. William, too, carried his sorrow privately, holding his daughter's hand, offering quiet, unwavering love through nights that felt endless and unkind. In those quiet, sacred hours, all titles, protocols, and royal expectations vanished. Kate Middleton became simply a mother, fierce, tender, and unbreakable, confronting a battle no one else could see. The weight of crowns and ceremonies disappeared, leaving only love, fear, and hope. Each fragile heartbeat of grace was a small miracle, and every soft lullaby Kate whispered was a silent act of courage, defying fate itself. Hidden from the world's eyes, Adelaide Cottage held a story of quiet courage, invisible heroism, and the unstoppable power of a parent's love. Behind the glittering crowns, polished ceremonies, and royal facades lay struggles no public gaze could see. Battles of the heart that revealed more about humanity than titles, wealth, or royalty ever could. In the end, Kate's love pierced the shadows, a quiet force that defied despair. Her silent struggle, unseen by the world, left ripples that far exceeded the palace gates, transcending crowns and titles, and touched hearts everywhere. It proved that even the quietest battles fought with courage and devotion can echo across the world, leaving an everlasting mark. So, what do you think about Kate's revelation? Could she still have another heir? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.